This is ubuntuMATE 18.10, take 3. This is the third time I've taken a look at ubuntuMATE 18.10, but the first time I've actually done a video about it. When it was first released about 7 weeks ago, I was running ubuntuMATE 18.04, and I decided to try an upgrade in place, something I normally don't do. I normally like to do a fresh installation each time I change operating systems. But I upgraded it in place, and it worked fairly well. It went fairly quickly. I probably could have kept that, but there were two reasons I didn't. One is there's a certain amount of detritus that comes after you've been using a system for a while, and when you upgrade in place, you carry that over from one system to another, and I just wanted to get rid of that. The second reason is I wanted to try Fedora 29 XFCE on my internal drive, so I did that for a few weeks. Then, as I explained in a previous video, I installed ubuntuMATE again, this time a fresh install on my internal drive, but I had a problem with a serious memory leak, and I had a lot of work to do. I didn't want to spend a lot of time tracking down that memory leak, so I installed MX17.1 on my internal drive. However, as I mentioned at the time, I didn't have a memory leak with the installation of ubuntuMATE on my external drive, so here I am taking another look at that. Here's the memory used using free space-m from the terminal. I'm using 497 megabytes. And using the system monitor, at around the same time I'm using 792.3 megabytes. But there's no memory leak. Now I'm going to start the system monitor with Simple Screen Recorder running. And I'm using 1.1 gigabytes of memory, and I'm using around 50% of my CPU capacity. I'm going to start Google Chrome running. Now I'm using about 1.2 gigabytes, not appreciably more than I was using, but a lot more of my CPU capacity. If I go to YouTube, I'm still only running 1.3 gigabytes of memory, although my CPU use has gone up slightly. And with Google Chrome closed, it's sinking back down to its former memory use slowly. Takes a while. But there's no memory leak in this installation. I was getting really high memory use, and some swap was being used. So that must have been due to some program I was running that I'm not running now. Now I'm going to go to the Software Boutique under Administration. Take a look at what that's doing. That certainly jacked up my CPU use. And my memory use is now about 1.5 gigabytes. So the Software Boutique seems to use a lot. Let me see what I can install that uses a lot of resources. How about Google Earth? Install. Apply changes. Now, while this is going on, my CPU use is nearly topped out here. Enter my password. Authenticate. The installation has finished. My CPU usage is gradually going down. I'll close the software boutique. And my memory use just started going down. However, I'm going to make things worse. I'm actually going to run Google Earth. Well, Google Earth uses a lot of my meager resources. Now, of course, this is a limitation of my computer, not necessarily of ubuntuMATE. But I have no memory leak, so I think that was just a fluke of something I was running on the previous installation. You might say there's not much difference between ubuntuMATE 1804 and ubuntuMATE 1810. However, one thing is that GNOME boxes didn't work with 1804, and it does work with 1810. Now I'm going to try to start a virtual machine. Continue. I'm going to select a file, and from downloads, I only have one in this particular installation, and that is FedoraMate. So I'm going to open that. Now it wants to give it 2 gigabytes of memory, but I found that's a bit too much. I only have 4, actually slightly less than 4 by the time you subtract the graphics memory and things like that. I'm going to give this a bigger disk size. let's say 24 gigabytes, but I'm going to give it less memory, 1 gigabyte. Then I'm going to click on Create. I'm going to go to Start Fedora Mate. And while that's going on, I'm going to take a look at my memory use. It's beginning to go up a bit. The CPU is working near capacity. I'm just going to log in as the live system user by clicking on the arrow. And here's Fedora Mate. This has a more traditional menu. Let's see what that's doing to my memory use. So now I'm running near 75%, but I expected that because I'm giving about 25% of my memory to GNOME boxes. And you notice I'm using 11.3 megabytes of swap. Normally you don't use much swap in Linux, but you do when you're running a virtual machine, at least this one. And you may recall that Ubuntu, ever since version 17.04, I believe, has provided a swap file of about 2 gigabytes rather than a swap partition. And it's using some of it. Of course, I think I could run things completely off the charts if I started Google Earth again. Now I'm nearing 100% of my memory, actually 92.8%. And while I was actually moving Google Earth around, I nearly topped out my CPUs. But this is a limitation of my computer and its resources, not necessarily a flaw in ubuntuMATE. And of course, in real life, I wouldn't be running Simple Screen Recorder, GNOME boxes, and Google Earth at the same time. The only thing is, I took this screenshot of the system monitor with Simple Screen Recorder turned off just a short time ago, and with Google Earth and GNOME boxes turned off, and you notice that the system hasn't really released a lot of memory. It's still using 2.3 gigabytes of memory, and 25.8 megabytes of swap. And now with Simple Screen Recorder turned on, I'm still using the same amount of memory and the same amount of swap. So it doesn't seem to release memory as much as I would expect. Let me just see what happens with free. I'm using 2084 megabytes of memory with the free utility. Let me see what would happen if I run Google Chrome again. The memory use has gone up slightly, but not astronomically. It's creeping up. Now the CPU usage has gone up. My memory is still high, and a lot of that is simply memory that hasn't been released from the previous applications. So there does seem to be a problem with releasing memory, but on the other hand, it hasn't caused any crashes or any system overloads. So perhaps I can assume that it will release the memory when the memory is needed. That's something I haven't explored completely. This is XRAM Tech. Thanks for watching.